My name is Tom, and this happened in the fall of 2023 in a small town called Milford, Ohio. I know the year because the calendar on the kitchen wall still shows October, and the police report has the date stamped in black ink. Keep that report in a drawer now, next to the knife I used to cut the pumpkin. I don't open the drawer much. Milford sits between cornfields and a river that smells like wet pennies when the wind turns wrong. Everybody knows everybody. We have one stoplight, one diner, and one pumpkin patch run by old Mr. Harlan. Every October, kids line up to pick the biggest pumpkin they can carry. I was 32, divorced, and living in the same gray house my parents left me. I worked at the feed store, lifted bags of seed all day, and came home to microwave dinners in silence. That year, the patch looked different. The vines were thick, almost blue in the dusk, and the pumpkins sat heavy and still, like they were listening. Mr. Harlan stood at the gate with his straw hat pulled low. His hand shook when he took my $5. "Take the one in the back," he said. "It's been waiting." I laughed, thinking he was joking. Old men say strange things. I walked past rows of orange spheres until I saw it. A pumpkin so big I had to drag it by the stem. The skin was smooth, no bumps, no scars. It felt warm, like skin after a fever. I paid extra for the wagon to haul it home. In my kitchen, I set it on the table. The overhead light made it glow. I grabbed my carving knife, the one with the wooden handle my dad used to gut fish. The blade went in easy, too easy. No resistance, like cutting butter. Orange flesh parted and a smell hit me, sweet, metallic, alive. I scooped out the guts. They were redder than usual, stringy, warm. I thought it was the light playing tricks. I carved a simple face, 2 triangles for eyes, a jagged mouth. Nothing fancy. When I finished, I stepped back. The pumpkin looked back at me. I swear the eyes followed my movement. I told myself it was tired eyes, long day. I stuck a candle inside, lit it, and went to bed. At 11:57 p.m., I woke to a sound. Drip, drip, drip. Like a faucet left on. I sat up. The bedroom door was open a crack, orange light leaking through. I never left the kitchen light on. I walked down the hall in my socks. The dripping grew louder, wetter. The pumpkin sat on the table, candle still burning. But now a thin line of red ran from the left eye down the cheek, pooling on the wood. I blinked hard. The red kept coming. It wasn't wax. It was thick, dark, smelling of iron and soil. Blood. I grabbed a towel, wiped it. The cut smeared fresh red welled up. The mouth seemed wider, like it was trying to speak. I blew out the candle. The dripping stopped. Silence pressed in so hard my ears rang. I couldn't sleep. I sat on the couch with the lights on, staring at the kitchen doorway. At 3:12 a.m., I heard it again. Drip, drip. I crept closer. The candle was lit. I had blown it out. The flame danced, tall and blue. Blood poured from both eyes now, running over the table edge, pattering on the linoleum. The mouth moved. Not much. Just a twitch, like a smile starting and giving up. I called my sister, Lisa. She lived 20 minutes away. No answer. I texted Mr. Harlan. Nothing. I grabbed the pumpkin, carried it outside, and threw it in the trash can. The lid slammed. I went back in, locked the door, and poured whiskey until the bottle was empty. Morning came gray. I opened the trash lid. The pumpkin was gone. No shell, no guts, no blood. Just wet leaves stuck to the bottom. I searched the yard. Nothing. I told myself a raccoon took it. Animals do strange things. That night I carved a new pumpkin from the grocery store. Small, ordinary. I left it on the porch with a battery light. I locked every door, every window. I slept with the baseball bat under the bed. At midnight, the porch light flickered. I looked out the window. The little pumpkin's face was gone. In its place, 2 holes leaking red. The battery light glowed inside, pulsing like a heartbeat. Blood ran down the steps, slow and steady, spelling letters on the wood. T-O-M-I ran outside in boxers and boots. The blood was warm, sticky between my toes. I kicked the pumpkin. It burst, seeds and flesh splattering the siding. The dripping stopped. I hosed the porch until the boards were clean. I threw the hose down and went inside, shaking. The next day, I drove to Mr. Harlan's farm. The patch was empty. Vines withered black. Pumpkins shriveled like heads left in the sun. The gate hung open. I walked to the house, door ajar. Inside smelled of rot and candle smoke. Mr. Harlan sat in his rocker, eyes wide, mouth sewn shut with orange twine. Pumpkin stem stuck out of his chest, green and slick. Blood soaked his overalls, still dripping onto the floorboards. Drip, drip. On the wall, carved into the plaster with a knife, "It waits for you." I backed out, drove to the police station. Officer Daniels took my statement. He knew me from high school. He listened, face blank, then drove me home. We searched the house. Nothing. No blood, no pumpkin, no twine. He suggested I see the doctor in the city, the one who handles stress. I went. The doctor gave me pills that tasted like chalk. I flushed them. Halloween night, the town had its usual party on Main Street. Kids in costumes, parents with thermoses of cider. I stayed home, lights off, bat in hand. At 11:59, the power died. The house went black. I heard the front door creak open. Footsteps slow and wet crossing the floor, drip, drip, drip. I swung the bat. It hit something soft, yielding. A groan, low and vegetable. The emergency light on the smoke detector kicked on. Red glow. The pumpkin stood in the hallway, my first one, huge and shining. Blood poured from every cut, pooling around my feet. The mouth opened wide. Inside was not a candle, but teeth. White, sharp, human. Spoke with Mr. Harlan's voice, raspy and wet. "You took what was mine." I ran. Through the back door, into the yard. The moon was full, orange like a pumpkin. The ground rippled. Vines shot up thick as my wrist, wrapping my ankles. I fell. They dragged me toward the garden patch I never planted. Soil parted. A hole black and deep. The pumpkin rolled to the edge, smiling. I screamed. Neighbors' lights came on. Officer Daniels ran over with his flashlight. The vines let go. The hole closed. The pumpkin was gone. Daniels helped me up, asked questions I couldn't answer. He took me to the station again. This time they kept me overnight for observation. They found Mr. Harlan the next morning, exactly as I described. But the twine was gone, the stem too. The coroner said heart attack, no signs of struggle. The blood on the floor, spilled paint from a Halloween prank. Kids these days. I moved out of the house the next week. Lisa took me in. I don't carve pumpkins anymore. I don't go near patches. But every October at midnight I wake to the sound. Drip, 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 I check the windows. Sometimes I see it on the lawn waiting, eyes bleeding, mouth moving. It never comes closer than the property line. Not yet. Last week, a kid from Milford went missing. They found his backpack by the river covered in seeds. The police are calling it a runaway. I know better. The patch is growing again. I drove past yesterday. Vines thick, pumpkins heavy. One sits in the back, bigger than the rest. Smooth skin, warm to the eye even from the road. Waiting. If you live in Milford, don't buy the big one. Don't carve after dark. And if you hear dripping at midnight, don't open the door. Some things want to come inside. Some things want to be remembered. I still have the knife. The blade is clean, but the handle smells like iron and wet earth. I keep it in the drawer with the police report. Sometimes late at night I take it out and listen. Drip, 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 the pumpkin is patient. It has all the time in the world. My name is Sarah, and this happened in October 2022 in the little town of Easton, Pennsylvania. The police file is still open. They call it a missing person case. I call it the night the pumpkin started talking. Easton sits on a hill above the Delaware River. Old brick houses, narrow streets, one traffic light that blinks yellow after 9. Every Halloween the town square fills with kids in plastic masks and parents holding paper cups of hot cider. I was 29, single, and rented the top floor of a Victorian house owned by Mrs. Klein. She lived downstairs with her cat and never turned the heat above 60. I worked at the library on Ferry Street. Quiet job? I shelved books, helped kids with homework, and closed at 8. That year I wanted a real jack-o'-lantern, not the plastic kind from the dollar store. So on October 28th, I walked to the farmer's market behind the old train station. Tables of squash, corn stalks, jars of honey. At the far end stood Mr. Petroff, a quiet man who grew pumpkins on the hill behind his barn. His table had one pumpkin left, tall, pale orange, no bruises. The stem curled like a question mark. $5, he said. His voice was soft, like he didn't want the pumpkin to hear. I paid. The pumpkin was heavier than it looked. I carried it home in my canvas bag, the stem poking out the top. Mrs. Klein met me on the stairs. "That one's special," she said, eyes on the pumpkin. "My mother grew those before the war." "They listen," I laughed. "Old ladies say odd things." I took it upstairs, set it on the kitchen table, and got my knife. The blade slid in smooth. No crunch, no fight. The flesh was creamy, almost white. I scooped the seeds into a bowl. They were warm, slick, redder than usual. I carved a simple face, round eyes, triangle nose, wide grin with 2 square teeth. I dropped a tea light inside, lit it, and stepped back. The face glowed soft and friendly. I took a picture for my sister in Pittsburgh. That night I went to bed early. The library was closed the next day for plumbing. I fell asleep to rain on the roof. At 11:47 p.m. I woke to a sound. A whisper. Low, dry, like leaves scraping glass. It came from the kitchen. I sat up. The whisper stopped. I lay down. Started again. Sarah, my name. Clear as the rain. I turned on the lamp. Empty room. I tiptoed to the door. The kitchen light was off, but the jack-o'-lantern glowed on the table. The flame danced taller than it should. The whisper came from inside the pumpkin. Sarah. Closer. I froze. The voice was a child's, but old, like a record played slow. I told myself it was the wind through the carved mouth. I blew out the candle. The glow died. Silence. I went back to bed, door locked. I didn't sleep. Morning came gray. The pumpkin sat dark and ordinary. I touched the rind. Cold. I laughed at myself, made coffee, and went to the library anyway. All day I shelved books and watched the clock. At closing, Mrs. Klein was waiting outside. "Don't light it again," she said. My mother burned hers after 3 nights. Said it started asking for things. I told her it was just a pumpkin. She shook her head and went inside. That night, October 29th, I left the jack-o'-lantern dark. I ate soup, watched a movie, and went to bed at 10. At midnight, the whisper woke me. Sarah, light me. The voice was louder, coming through the wall. I sat up. The bedroom door was open a crack. Orange light leaked in. I never opened that door. I grabbed my phone, flashlight on. The kitchen was empty, but the pumpkin glowed. The tea light was lit. Wax pooled inside, but the flame stood straight, blue at the edges. The whisper came again. Light me. See me, I blew it out hard. The flame died. I unplugged the fridge so the motor wouldn't hum. Silence. I carried the pumpkin to the trash, lid down tight. I went back to bed shaking. At 3:03 a.m., the whisper was in my room. Sarah, I'm cold. I screamed. Mrs. Klein's door opened downstairs. She came up in her robe, cat in her arms. You heard it, she said. Not a question, I nodded. She took the trash bag, carried it to the curb, and poured bleach over the pumpkin. The rind hissed. She came back inside. Stay with me tonight, she said. We sat in her living room, lights on, cat on my lap. She told me the story her mother told her. In 1943, during the war, her mother grew pumpkins to feed the family. One grew too fast, too big. It whispered at night, asked for scraps of meat, then hair, then blood. Her mother fed it until it asked for her wedding ring. She burned it on the 3rd night. The ashes spelled her name in the garden. I laughed, but it sounded weak. We fell asleep on the couch, October 30th, Halloween Eve. I went to work. The library was busy with kids picking scary books. I smiled, stamped cards, and felt the whisper in my head all day. Soft, patient, that night Mrs. Klein made tea. We sat at her table. The cat stared at the window. Outside, the trash can lid was open. The pumpkin sat on the porch step, whole, glowing. No bleach, no cracks. Mrs. Klein crossed herself. It followed you. We called the police. Officer Ruiz came, young, polite. He looked at the pumpkin, shrugged, and took it to his cruiser. He said he'd drop it at the dump. He left. At 11:59 p.m., the whisper came through the walls. Sarah. He lied. Headlights flashed outside. Officer Ruiz's cruiser pulled up. He got out slow. His uniform was wet, dark. He carried the pumpkin in both arms like a baby. The face glowed brighter. He walked to the porch, set it down, and knocked once. Then he got back in the car and drove away. Mrs. Klein locked the door. We pushed the couch against it. The whisper filled the house. Sarah. Open. See, we didn't sleep. At dawn, the pumpkin was gone. No footprints, no wax, no smell. Just the porch step wet with something red. Halloween night. The town square was full of ghosts and superheroes. I stayed inside with Mrs. Klein. We turned off every light. At midnight, the power went out anyway. The whisper came from everywhere. Sarah, look, the cat hissed. We looked out the window. Every jack-o'-lantern on the street glowed blue. Faces turned toward our house. The whispers rose together, a chorus of dry leaves. Sarah, join us. See, Mrs. Klein grabbed my hand. We ran upstairs, locked ourselves in the bathroom. No windows. We sat on the floor, backs to the door. The whispers followed, seeping under the gap. Sarah. Remember? I remembered the photo I took. I opened my phone. The picture was still there, but the jack-o'-lantern's eyes were black holes. The mouth moved. A new photo appeared below it, me sleeping, taken from above. Timestamp 3:03 a.m. Mrs. Klein took the phone, smashed it in the sink. The whispers laughed, soft and close. We heard the front door open downstairs. Slow footsteps on the stairs. Drag, pause, drag. The bathroom knob turned. Once, twice. The door shook. Mrs. Klein whispered a prayer. Closed my eyes. Silence. Morning came. The door was untouched. The house empty. But on the bathroom mirror, carved deep with a knife, "See you next year." Mrs. Klein moved to her sister's in Allentown the next day. I stayed one more week, packed my things, and left for Pittsburgh. I don't carve pumpkins. I don't answer whispers. But every October, my new phone buzzes at midnight. A photo appears. A jack-o'-lantern on a dark porch. The face is mine. The eyes glow. The mouth moves. Last week, a kid in Easton went missing. They found his costume by the river, soaked in pumpkin seeds. The police are calling it an accident. I know better. The whispers are patient. They wait for the light. They wait for the knife. They wait for the name. If you carve a pumpkin this year, listen close. If it knows your name, blow out the candle, smash it. Burn it, run. Because once it whispers, it never forgets, and it always comes back. My name is Jake. This happened in October 2021 in the town of Briarwood, Michigan. The address was 217 Maple Lane. The house is gone now. They bulldozed it last spring. The lot is just dirt and weeds, but kids still ride past on bikes and don't stop. I was 27, a carpenter, and I bought the place cheap because nobody else wanted it. Briarwood is small. One school, one bar, one gas station. Maple Lane ends at a cornfield. Number 217 sat at the dead end. 2 stories, gray paint peeling, porch sagging like a tired mouth. The realtor, Ms. Carter, handed me the keys and said, "Fixer-upper, cash only, no inspections." I should have asked why. Inside smelled of dust and apples left too long. The floors creaked in patterns like footsteps that stopped when I turned. I moved in on October 1st with a mattress, a cooler, and my toolbox. I planned to flip it by Christmas. The first week was normal. I tore out wallpaper the color of old teeth. Underneath, the plaster had scratches, thin lines deep in rows. I sanded them smooth. At night, I heard chewing sounds from the walls. Mice, I thought. I set traps. Nothing caught. October 8th, I found the basement door. It was behind a shelf in the pantry, painted the same gray as the wall. The knob was cold, sticky. The stairs went down farther than the house was wide. At the bottom, dirt floor, stone walls wet with something clear. In the middle sat a pumpkin the size of a kiddie pool. Orange skin stretched tight, no stem, no scars. It pulsed slow like breathing. I laughed. It was some prank. I kicked it. My boot stuck. The rind sucked like mud. I pulled free, left a print that closed up smooth. I ran upstairs, nailed the shelf back, and forgot it. October 15th, the town kids started coming. Briarwood does Halloween big. Hay rides, bonfires, every porch lit with jack-o'-lanterns. Kids knocked, asked to see the haunted house. I gave them candy from a bowl, sent them off. One boy, Timmy Reed, age 9, stared too long at the pantry shelf. "My grandpa says this house eats trick-or-treaters," he said. I ruffled his hair. "Tell Grandpa houses don't have teeth." He left. That night, the chewing started again, louder, wet. From the pantry, October 20th, I opened the basement door. The pumpkin was gone. In its place, a hole in the dirt, round, edges smooth. Footprints led away, small, bare, mine weren't there. I followed. The tunnel sloped under the foundation, wood beams old and black. The air smelled sweet, rotten. The tunnel opened into a room I didn't build. Walls of pumpkin flesh, orange and veined. The floor squished. Jack-o'-lanterns grew from the ceiling on vines, faces carved. Candles inside burning without wax. They turned as I walked, eyes followed. Mouths opened and closed, no sound. In the center hung a boy's costume, Superman, size small. Empty, seeds stuck to the cape. I ran. The tunnel sealed behind me. I beat the dirt with my hammer until my hands bled. The basement door opened to the pantry like always. I nailed it shut with every nail I owned. October 25th, the house changed. The front door grew wider, hinges groaning. The windows sagged, glass fogged with breath. I came home from the lumberyard to find candy wrappers on the porch. Snickers, Skittles, Tootsie Pops. Half eaten, spit out. The bowl inside was full. I never bought candy. That night the doorbell rang nonstop. I opened it. No one. Just jack-o'-lanterns lining the walk, glowing faces I didn't carve. One had Timmy's freckles. I smashed them with my boot. The rind bled clear sap that hardened like glue. My boot stuck. I left them on the porch. October 28th, the walls started sweating. Orange droplets ran down the plaster, smelling of cider and pennies. The scratches came back deeper. I followed one to the attic. The stairs narrowed, wood soft like fruit. Up top, a single room. No windows. The floor was a tongue, pink and wet. It licked my shoes. I slipped, fell. The tongue curled, gentle, tasting. I crawled to the hatch. It slammed shut. The attic filled with whispers, kids' voices calling trick or treat. Over and over, faster, angry. The tongue pressed me to the ceiling. I tasted pulp in my mouth. I bit down hard. The tongue screamed, high and childish. The hatch opened. I fell through, landed in the kitchen. October 30th, I tried to leave. The front door wouldn't budge. The knob turned to mush in my hand. The back door led to the basement. The pantry shelf was gone. The tunnel waited, wider, lit by glowing pumpkins. I took my toolbox, a flashlight, and went in. The tunnel split, left costumes hanging like skins, princess, ninja, ghost, empty, swaying. Right. A trail of candy leading deeper. I followed right. The air grew warm, humid. The walls pulsed. I passed a cavity in the flesh. Inside, Timmy Reed curled small, eyes open, smiling. Seeds covered him like blankets. He waved. I ran. The tunnel spat me into the backyard. Night, the cornfield gone. In its place, the house stood huge. Windows now mouths, porch a tongue lolling out. Jack-o'-lanterns grew from the roof. Hundreds, faces of every kid who ever knocked. They sang in chorus, trick or treat, smell my feet, give me something good to eat. The front door opened wide. Candy poured out. Mountains of it, wrappers bright, some moving like something inside crawled. I backed away. The ground softened. Vines shot up, wrapped my legs, pulled me toward the porch. I cut them with my saw. Seb bled thick and sticky. I made it to my truck, keys gone. The house laughed, a wet gurgle from the chimney. Headlights came down Maple Lane. Sheriff Doyle, red and blue lights spinning. He stopped, got out slow. Jake, kids say you've got the best candy in town. His eyes were orange, pupils carved triangles. He smiled too wide. Candy corn teeth, I ran. Into the cornfield that wasn't there before. Stalks sharp, slicing my arms. Behind me, the house grew legs. Tree roots thick as my waist, stomping, chasing. The ground shook. I fell into a row. The stalks parted. Timmy stood there, naked, skin orange and smooth. You left the door open, he said. It's hungry, he pointed. The house loomed, mouth door yawning. Inside, darkness chewed light. I woke in my truck, dawn, October 31st. Engine running. I was parked at the gas station 5 miles away. No cuts, no sap. Wallet gone. Phone dead. The clerk, Amy, knew me. You okay, Jake? You were muttering about pumpkins. I drove back. Maple Lane empty. Number 217 gone. Just a hole in the ground, round, smooth. Dirt still wet. In the center, my toolbox, open. Inside, one jack-o'-lantern, small, carved with my face. Candle burning, eyes blinking. I smashed it. The rind screamed my name. That night, Halloween, Briarwood had its party. I stayed in my truck outside town. At midnight, every light went out. Then the jack-o'-lanterns came on. Thousands floating down streets, faces of kids, adults, pets. They marched to the empty lot. The hole glowed. The house rose from the dirt, bigger, windows hungry. Porch tongue licked the air. Costumed kids followed, laughing, skipping, into the mouth. One by one, no screams. Just chewing wet and happy. I drove away. Haven't been back. Last week a new house appeared on Zillow. 17 Maple Lane. Photos show fresh paint, wide porch, basement with extra storage. Price too low. Comments say perfect for Halloween parties. The realtor is Ms. Carter. She smiles in the photo, teeth orange. If you get candy that tastes like apples and pennies, spit it out. If your jack-o'-lantern grins when you're not looking, smash it. If a house invites you in on Halloween night, keep walking. Some doors only open one way. and the house is always hungry.